the questions we already discussed, but anyway, I'm recording the session, so it's better to discuss from the very beginning. Can you see the slide? Is it, or is it clear, or you need more magnification? So,
Yes, I can see it.
okay, great. So, please try to answer the questions because some questions we already discussed yesterday. So, what are pathogens? What are pathogens? Which of the following questions?
Disease
Yes.
like
Disease-causing agents. So the pathogens are disease-causing agents such as the bacteria, virus, fungi, parasites. These are pathogens. The surface barrier such as skin, cutaneous membrane, serve immune system as, this is the
A.
yeah,
first line.
the first line of defense, because the skin and mucous membrane serve as the first line of defense. Can you give an example of second line of defense? Any examples of second line of defense? What are the second line of defense system?
Fever.
Either fever, inflammation, natural killer cells, chemicals. These are the second line of defense system. And can you give examples of third line of defense system? Which is more specific, third line.
Humoral cell and
Correct.
cellular.
And cellular immunity and humoral immunity. Good. Okay, great. Number 3, what are the primary cells of adaptive immunity?
Is it C?
Lymphocytes. Lymphocytes.
Adaptive, yes, lymphocytes.
Oh,
So the lymphocytes are the primary cells, and there are two classes of lymphocytes. One, the T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes. So T lymphocytes, which mature and derive from the thymus, and B lymphocyte maturation takes place within the red bone marrow. The natural killer cells is a component of innate immunity. Innate immunity, the natural killer cells.
Yes, okay.
Which of the following helps to prevent the pathogens from invading the body?
That's B.
Yes, mucus.
Yeah.
So this is the first line of defense system. The first line of defense system. Now the histamine. What is the functions of histamine? Histamine, it released from the mast cell. But the functions of histamine, this cause inflammation. The inflammation. Histamines, it causes inflammation. What is the function of T cells? The
So
T cell. Yes,
cellular immunity.
Cellular immunity. Good. It is cellular immunity. What is the functions of macrophages? Macrophages. You can say macro means large and phage means eating. So what is the functions? The macrophage engulf. And it's engulf and destroy. Yes, engulf and destroy bacteria. Good. Okay. What cell display the portion of pathogens they ingest on their plasma membrane?
B.
B.
Antigen presenting cells. Can you give an examples of antigen presenting cells? Any example? Can you remember this slide that we discussed? Antigen presenting cell. Macrophage. Can you see the macrophage? Example is the macrophage that digests the pathogen. Isn't example of antigen presenting cell is macrophage. So what is the function of basophil? What is basophil actually? The basophil is a class of
white blood
white blood cells. What is the function of basophil? Secrete histamine and heparin. Histamine and heparin. So eosinophil is a class of white blood cells and associate with allergic reaction and parasitic infestation, and natural killer cells associated with immune system or immunity. Good. Activated B lymphocyte differentiate into when the B cells is activated, it differentiate into
Oh, C?
no.
No, it's D.
No. A. Plasma
correct.
cells
A?
and
It's
memory
yes. The B lymphocytes differentiate into plasma cells, and these plasma cells produce antibody, and the memory B cells provides future immunity.
Okay.
If you can see the handout that I gave, I uploaded. Let me zoom in. You can see the B cell activation process, and B cell differentiate into the plasma cells. You can see the this is the plasma cell secreting antibody and the memory B cells. So what is the functions of memory B cell? Provides
Future immunity.
future immunity. So the B cell differentiate into plasma cells and memory B cells. Okay, good. Which of the following secrete antibodies?
plasma cells.
Correct. The plasma cells secretes antibody. What is the function of memory B cells? Memory B cells.
Oh, isn't that immunity?
Either future immunity, provide future immunity.
Immunity.
Future
It just
immunity.
said it too.
Yeah.
So these cells provides future immunity,
Immunity.
memory B cells. Good.
Mhm.
Innate defense systems. Innate defense systems are
A.
yes, is a
Response.
first and non-specific. But in the adaptive defense systems are
Specific
which
and
one?
slow.
It is slow and it is slow and specific. So
Mhm.
adaptive immune response is slow and specific. If you can see here, the classification of immune system. So innate is a non-specific and very fast response. Adaptive is a specific and slow response. Good.
Mhm.
Professor, excuse me, you said the handout. Could you send me a copy of the handout, please?
Here, I uploaded into the chat box.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
everything into the chat box. You can see.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Which of the following types of cells produce antibodies?
Memory cells?
T cells.
Okay, now you can
Plasma
see.
cells.
Okay, you can see these two questions, number 7 and 9. The question 7, which of the following secret antibodies, that is the plasma cells?
Plasma cells.
And which of the following types of cells produce antibodies? It's the
Plasma
same.
cells.
Plasma cells.
It's the
Plasma
same.
cells.
Okay.
Same. So secrete antibody and produce antibody. That's the only difference. So that is the plasma cell.
Okay.
Choose the item that would provoke cell to produce interferon. Interferon is a protein produced by the lymphocytes.
Viruses.
So is a virus, correct?
Yes.
So this interferon is very important protein that inhibit the viral replication. Virus cannot replicate within the host cells. Good. So what is bacteria? The bacteria is the microorganisms, and this is unicellular organisms. Unicellular. The T lymphocytes are responsible for?
Producing immunity.
No, you can see the option.
Is it B?
Produce
Yes.
antibodies.
No, the producing antibodies in the plasma cells, that is the B cells.
Oh, so is it cell mediated?
C,
Yes,
I saw
correct.
C,
It's the
C.
cell-mediated immunity.
Mm.
Again, I repeat, this is very important questions actually. You can see here the classification of immunity, the cellular immunity which performed by T lymphocytes and humoral immune response by B cells. And the B cell differentiates into the plasma cells and produce antibodies. So this is the types of adaptive defense system. Okay, the vaccination involve exposure to an antigen to elicit vaccination.
Passive immunity?
Passive. No, active.
Active immunity.
Active immunity.
Yeah.
Because the vaccination, for example, if you can consider the COVID vaccine, so what happened? The vaccination stimulate the adaptive immune response, that is active immunity. So the vaccination involves active immunity. Can you give an example of passive immunity?
Breast milk?
Breast milk, because the breast milk contains immunoglobulin A, IgA, and that provide the passive immunity to newborn baby. Good. So the active immunity, that means the vaccination or even, the disease like chickenpox or measles that cause another examples of active immunity. The plasma cells, number 13.
Is it B?
Is B correct? Produce antibody molecules. Antibody molecules. So
Yes, that 3 different ways now.
okay. A bacterial cell entered the body through the cart skin. Which of the following describes the immune response that would occur next?
A.
No. If this is an immediate, very first response, immediate after cart, there should be the first response. So which one is the first response?
D. The helper T cells activated.
Antigens are released.
No, the first histamine will release, and histamine causes inflammation. The first histamine released will, and that histamine will cause inflammation, because inflammation is then part of innate immunity.
Okay.
Cytotoxic T cells, helper T cells, these all are adaptive or a specific immune response. But release of histamines cause inflammation, that is a non-specific immune response. Immediate after CAR, the first activate the non-specific, that is innate. But cytotoxic T cells or helper T cells, that is a part of adaptive. It takes time, it's a slow response.
The cytotoxic is when you're getting now a scar.
That is the later, because the cytotoxic T cell and helper T cells, these two important immune cells needs activation. So it's a long process, but immediate action is an innate immunity, that is inflammation. So histamine released and this histamine caused inflammation. So what is inflammation? Inflammation, it prevents a spread of infection. So inflammation localizes the infection, therefore infection cannot be spread. So this is the part of innate immunity.
Oh, okay.
You can see here, I think innate immunity, if you can see the table that I, okay, very good, innate immunity. Can you see the inflammation?
Yeah.
A tissue response to injury that helps to prevent the spread of infection. So these are the chemicals like histamine can cause inflammation. in the cellular immune response.
I think it's A.
No, you can see the A is the humoral. B cell is an humoral immune response.
Mm.
Is it B?
A T cell does not produce antibody. Antibody produced by B cells.
So then T cells attack healthy bodies?
Yes, yes, no. Healthy body cells will not attack by T cells because immune cells can only detect the foreign substance, not the host.
T cells attack directly to antigen
And destroy them.
and destroy them.
I
Oh,
can
that's right.
again, I'll explain the classification because this is very important. Let me explain the classification.
That is the macro.
So now you can see the immune systems are two types: innate defense, which is non-specific and very fast response,
Mm.
and protect against many types of pathogens. And adaptive, which is a specific defense system and response is slow. So adaptive response are two types: the cellular immune response that T cell mediated, and the T cell attack directly to antigen and destroy them. Attack the antigen. And the humoral immune response performed by antibodies, and this is the B cell mediated. The B cell differentiated into the plasma cell.
Mm.
The B cell differentiate from plasma cells and the memory B cells
Mm.
provide the future immunity, and the plasma cells secretes antibodies. So the cellular immune response is the T cell mediated and humoral immune response is the B cell mediated. So the T cell mediated response that attack directly to antigen and destroy them, and B cell mediated immune response is produce antibodies. So please don't mistake the B cell produce antibody and T cell attack the pathogens directly.
Okay, I try to remember that.
So, which of the following best describes the purpose of vaccine?
Mm.
Oh, you just tell us a while ago.
So it's B then.
The vaccine to practice passive immunity. No, the
Immunity.
vaccine,
It's
the
A.
vaccination.
Oh, vaccination is
But what this
active.
thing?
Vaccination is active.
Yes. So
Okay.
once you take the COVID vaccine, what happened when you take the COVID vaccine? So sometimes we check the titer. You know, the titer of what?
To produce antibodies. Then.
Correct.
To produce
So,
immunity.
to produce antibodies, because after vaccination, your bloods have certain amount of antibodies. So that following vaccination
Yes.
to produce antibody against with a specific. So when we take the COVID vaccine, and this vaccine stimulate our immune system to produce antibodies in the plasma. Which of the correct order of things that happens during inflammatory response? The sequence, correct order of things that happen during an inflammatory response.
So blood vessels become permeable.
So you think following injury, if any cut in the skin. So what happened? The first events, the damaged cell release histamine.
Damage.
Cell release histamine. I explained earlier, histamine will be released. And then the second effect, the blood vessels become permeable. The blood vessels become permeable. And then the phagocytes are attracted to the damaged area like neutrophil. And neutrophil fight with the pathogens and the formation of pus.
Occurs.
So
Okay.
that now I'll just give the answer. It should be the B. 3, 2, 1, 4. That will be the sequence of events. Can remove, then it will be clear. So this format you'll find in the TEAS exams. So the sequence of the things that happen during inflammatory response. That's why you can see these questions, the histamine I mentioned here. You'll find another questions. The number is where is it?
Damage occurs first.
Yes, that is the.
Then the
number?
blood vessel becomes permeable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which this number 14. The bacterial cell enters the body through a cut in the skin. Which of the following describe the immune response? Histamines are released.
Yeah.
Histamine, and that causes inflammation. So this is the another format of that questions. Which of the following is considered non-infectious disease?
Allergies.
Allergies.
Yeah.
Allergies is a non-infectious disease, but chickenpox, COVID-19, influenza, these all are infectious disease.
Yeah.
We learned the difference between infectious and non-infectious disease on the Monday class. You can see here the infectious disease. These are communicable like cholera, chickenpox. Non-infectious disease are non-communicable disease like diabetes, cancer, asthma, even the blood pressure, stroke. These all are non-communicable disease. A protein made by white blood cells to fight specific pathogens.
Oh, that's an antibody.
Yes, correct. The B lymphocytes, right?
Yeah.
The white blood cell B cells. The body's response to an infection by showing redness, swelling, and pain.
Inflammation.
Is an inflammation. Good. Inflammation. Signs of inflammations are redness, swelling, and pain. Good. Which of the following cells can become memory cells?
B.
B cells. Following differentiation, B cell differentiate into the plasma cells and the memory cells. The plasma cells produce antibodies and the memory cells provide future immunity. What is one way a pathogens can enter the body?
All of those.
Correct. All of the above. So pathogens can enter through the nose, oral cavity or mouth, or unbroken skin. Good. Which of the following types of tissue include the cell of immune systems and blood?
Immune systems and blood. I would say connective.
Is it correct?
Oh,
Is it correct? Is it correct? Because you can see here, cells of immune systems is mostly from white blood cells. These are white blood cells, and the blood is a special type of connective tissue. So epithelial tissue, this cover that protect our body, and epithelial means the covering cells like the epithelial tissue present in the skin, lining epithelium of the digestive system, respiratory system. So the muscle tissue, can you give an examples of muscle tissue?
A tendon?
The muscle tissue.
Muscle tissue.
The cardiac muscles.
Oh, yeah.
Smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, smooth muscles,
Serrated muscle.
even you know the skeletal muscles. So these are the muscle tissue, and epithelial tissue formed within the outer layer of the skin, epidermis of the skin, even epithelial tissue that line the stomach, small intestine, blood vessels, and the neural tissue, where we can get the neural tissue.
In the brain?
In the brain, a spinal cord, you have neural tissue. So the tissues include the cell's immune system, and blood is a connective tissue. Can you give any other examples of connective tissue? What are the types of special type of connective tissue? Let me write a special type of connective tissue.
Of connective tissue.
Okay, let me write it here.
What about adipose tissue?
Yes, adipose tissue is a connective tissue. Let me write here the connective tissues.
Fat,
Adi-
yeah, makes
Adipose
sense.
tissues, and also the bone is a special type of connective tissue.
There we go.
The cartilage
Cartilage.
is a connective tissue, and also the blood. So these are the connective tissues. And you know that the tendon also connective tissue.
Oh, there you go, tendon.
The tendon. These are the dense regular connective tissue, tendon, and ligament. These all are the examples of connective tissue. Is it clear, the connective tissue?
Yes, now it is.
Okay, good. Number 24. Which activity would stimulate the human immune system to provide protection against an invasion of microbes?
Is it C?
Yes, correct. Being vaccinated against chickenpox. So vaccination. Good.
Yeah, now
So
it is.
the vaccination would stimulate the immune system to provide protection. Which condition would most likely result in a human body being unable to defend itself against pathogens and cancerous cells? Read the questions.
Oh, it's D.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So that is the presence in the body of the virus that causes AIDS. You know, the HIV virus, HIV is that totally shut off the immune system. You can see here, we discussed acquired immunodeficiency, which infects the helper T cells and prevent them from activating cytotoxic and B cells. So whole immune system, adaptive immune response will be shut off. Good.
So if you catch HIV and AIDS, you're definitely going to get cancer at some point.
Yep, some points, because immune system is completely shut off, then the immune response will be compromised and can lead to the cancerous growth. Abnormal cell will develop and may lead to cancers. It's very common complications of AIDS patients. The diagram below represents an event that occurs in the blood. Which statement best describes this event?
C?
Yes.
Mm.
The cell
Engulfing.
white blood engulfing the disease-causing organisms.
Mhm.
So this process is known as, name this process.
Phagocytosis?
Yes, the phagocytosis.
Phagocytosis.
And engulf and destroy the pathogens. This process is known as phagocytosis. You'll see the process here. I think we had this process that some part of the process you'll find here. This is the phagocytosis. Can you see the engulf pathogens and destroy the pathogens?
Yeah.
So the phagocytosis. This process is called the phagocytosis.
So it occurs in the blood.
The phagocytosis, it can happen at any tissue level as well, because the macrophage or phagocytic cells also presents at the tissue level.
Okay.
For example, in the lungs, we have macrophages. In the liver, we have macrophages. So they continuously engulf and destroy the pathogens.
Okay.
So when the skin in following is the skin injury. So this macrophage migrate to the site of infection and they can engulf the pathogens. So this can happen outside the blood.
Okay.
A child gets cut on his finger. The swelling occurs at the site of increased blood flow and bringing phagocytes to the injury to destroy any foreign cells that may have been introduced. This response describes which type of immunity?
Is it D?
Right?
Yes, innate immunity. Good.
Okay.
Now you can see here following injury, after cut, the phagocytes migrate and then engulf and destroy the pathogens. So this is non-specific. So why not adaptive immunity? Because there is no way to activate T and B cells. You can see this overall is an immediate response by phagocytic cells. So that is a component of innate immunity. For adaptive immunity needs to activate the T cells and the B cells. Clear? Okay. Which of these is not a lymphoid organ? Because the lymphoid organ is important for a maturation of some lymphocytes, and they also filter the lymph.
The D.
The D. The liver is not a lymphoid organ because the liver is a metabolic organ and metabolism takes place mostly in the liver. The liver also stores some vitamins. Liver um, produces the bile, that the digestive function. Liver itself has detoxification function. So the very, very important organs. But the tonsils, spleen, and the thymus. Quick questions. What is the function of thymus? What is the function of thymus?
Oh, it's a hormonal gland. It's
Yes,
to
it then
produce
actually,
hormones.
you are correct. It then the thymus is an endocrine, lymphatic organ. It's very important lymphatic organ and which presents within the mediastinum, thymus, and thymus produce a hormone. Name is thymosin. This is an hormone. Let me zoom in. So produce a hormone thymosin, and the thymosin it helps in maturation of T cells. You know, the T lymphocyte maturation takes place within the thymus because of this hormone.
That's right. You
So,
did that yesterday.
so this is the very important questions as well. The thymosin is the hormone that helps in maturation of T cells. So T cells, you can see the T means thymus-derived lymphocyte. So why it's called T? T means this lymphocyte derived from thymus. Thymus-derived lymphocyte. So that's we call that T cells or T lymphocytes. So in the just try to memorize T means thymus. So we call T cells or T lymphocytes. So what about B cells? Where the B cell maturation takes place?
Oh, red bone marrow.
Yes, correct. B
You're
cells maturation takes place within the red bone marrow. That is bone marrow. Okay. So B cells, bone marrow, T cells, thymus. Okay, good. The virus is produced by?
Is it D?
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm confused.
Inserting their DNA into the host cell and causing to produce more viruses. I think these questions, we discussed on Monday. That is microorganisms. So what are the different types of viruses? What are the types of viruses? Can you remember?
Of viruses.
What are the different classes of virus? One is the DNA virus
Oh, an
or
RNA.
RNA virus. Two types, DNA or RNA virus. And we learned the examples. COVID-19 belongs to which class? DNA or RNA?
RNA.
That's RNA virus, RNA.
DNA.
Hepatitis B virus is
That
DNA.
DNA. That's the
DNA.
DNA virus. So there are two different types. HIV. What about HIV?
DNA.
No,
DNA.
that's the
No.
RNA.
RNA.
HIV is RNA. HIV is an RNA virus. So there are RNA virus and the DNA virus. So that's the questions. I think we covered the whole immune system, and we also covered the uh, microorganisms. And I think I provide all the essential materials into the chat box. So any questions? Any questions, dear students? So the recording